outside of the weather, Marcellus Wiley, I don't think that he is. Now, I can't say that I would not have also made the move. Of course I would. I'm a glutton for fame like most other people in this world. But let's talk about why I don't think it's the right move. USC, or historically great programs that are presently not so good, are where coaches go to die. What is often a dream quickly turns into a nightmare. Let's start with SC. Lane Kiffin. Lane Kiffin goes to SC, and a couple years later, he's the head coach at Florida Atlantic. Clay Helton is the head coach at SC. Then a couple years later, he's the head coach at Georgia Southern. Let's look at some other historically great programs, presently not so good. Michigan, prior to this year, Rich Rod takes over at Michigan. A couple years later, he works for CBS. Brady Hoke takes over at Michigan. A couple years later, he's not coaching at all. Charlie Strong takes over at Texas. A couple years later, he's the inside linebackers coach for the worst team in the NFL. Tom Herman, he takes over at Texas. A couple years later, he's the offensive analyst for the worst offense in the NFL. So what looks to Lincoln Riley like such a great job, it could quickly go from a dream to becoming a nightmare.
Wake up.
If you can make USC what USC was, then of course USC is a phenomenal job. But how are we going to act like Oklahoma wasn't a good job? Lincoln Riley took over in 2017. He went 12-2, 12-2, 12-2, 9-2 during the COVID year, and this year he went 10-2. And I would imagine, and I would submit that if he wasn't distracted by so many other coaching opportunities, they might have won that game, Battle of Bedlam against Oklahoma State, where he's up by 9 with 13 minutes in the fourth quarter, and he'd be playing in another Big 12 championship game. Lincoln Riley won 4 Big 12 championship games at OU. Lincoln Riley only went to the college football playoffs the first 3 years at his time at OU. So if you're going to USC, you're going to USC for what? Can't be for a better program, because Oklahoma has been a significantly better program than USC since 2005. It can't be for better quarterbacks, because Oklahoma has had better quarterbacks than USC as of late. Can't be for the state tax, because you and I both know you don't go to California for the state tax. So I don't get why, outside of being able to say I coach at USC, you would leave Oklahoma to go to SC. And as a Texas alum, I'm glad Lincoln is gone. As a Texas alum, I'm not supposed to like Oklahoma. I actually like Oklahoma. I just think they're a dominant program.
I've noticed.
So,
Baker Mayfield
I don't think that Lincoln made the right football move. Did he make the right life move? I can be easily convinced, because I moved from the South to the West. But did he make the right football move? I don't think so, Sal.
I have a plaque in my home that I'm going to put up very soon that says, life is simple, football is hard. And if you think about that, you already answered this. Was this a smart move? Was this the right move for Lincoln Riley to come to L.A., to come to USC? Absolutely. Why? Because you just raised your hand as tight as you tried in that suit to say, yes, I would have done it, right? You know why you would have done it? Because it's really simple, for life reasons. And then you're going to skip past the life reasons to get to the football reasons. And so let's start where you want to jump to, the football reasons. SC, Oklahoma, just in brand. Sorry, Oklahoma, respect for you. SC got you beat. Now, the craziest thing about USC right now is this is a team that right now is going to have a losing season. 2 losing seasons in the last 4 years. USC. However, they still are a top 20 recruiting school. What does that mean to me? You know me. If you say you're top 20, that means you're 20. They're 20th ranked in the last 4 years in their recruiting classes. What has OU been ranked the last 4 years in recruiting classes? Top 10. Now, think about this, because this is going to come down to what I just said before. Life is simple. Football is hard. If you look at it, Lincoln Riley's been doing amazing while he's been at Oklahoma. But at the same time, this hasn't been the path of least resistance in terms of being that amazing. This has been a lot of work to be at Oklahoma and still do this well. You know why? Because you see someone out there in the Pac-12 that has a bigger brand, that has a backyard that's a breeding ground that you have to poach, that you have to travel to just to have those top 10 recruiting classes. But what if you didn't have to go anywhere? What if Lincoln Riley said, hey, you know what? Where my home is where your next home is as a prospect, as a recruit. Life just got easier, right? If you look at that, that's a simple equation for the path of least resistance. Lincoln Riley woke up one day and realized, hey, we're moving to the SEC. That's not the path of least resistance. No matter where I go to any recruiting's headquarters, recruiting's high school, recruiting's living room, I'm never the best coach that arrives from the SEC. That's going to be Nick Saban, right? So you think about that and juxtapose that to a Pac-12 scenario. When if you walk into someone's living room, maybe they're going to think of you as the greatest head coach in that conference, maybe the greatest brand of the two. So Lincoln Riley just realized that, hey, man, I'm going to the situation that is going to make my life better. And for real, in football, the path of least resistance. The Pac-12, and especially USC, has a greater prime opportunity to get to where it used to be, more so than Oklahoma transitioning to the SEC and trying to be second, third fiddle to a recruit as it's trying to jockey its way to where Nick Saban is.
So what I would push back on from a conceptual standpoint is this.
Okay.
Coming off Thanksgiving, many people should be reminded it's easier to stay in shape than it is to get in shape, right?
Yeah.
If you stay in shape, you Gucci. If you got to get in shape, that's way more work.
Okay.
It's easier to stay good, which the Oklahoma Sooners are, and the Oklahoma Sooners were, than it is to get good. Lincoln Riley was born on third base in regards to football.
Yeah.
He took over for one of the greatest coaches of this generation in Bob Stoops. Lincoln Riley inherited Baker Mayfield, and he quickly inherited Kyler Murray. He didn't have to start working until his third year when he had to recruit Jalen Hurts.
Okay.
But it's easier to stay good than it is to get good. Ask Ryan Day, head coach at Ohio State. Oh, thank you, Urban Meyer. I will take that 12-2 Ohio State team, and I will not lose a Big Ten game for 29 straight games. Thanks for that, Urban Meyer. Way easier to stay good than get good. Lincoln now going to SC. He got to get them boys good, Sel. In Oklahoma, you could have just stayed good. But furthermore, let's talk about this SC. Well, let me start branding-wise. I think the biggest brand to a 18, 17, 16-year-old kid is the Jordan brand.
Okay.
Oklahoma is a Jordan brand school. So regardless of what we think about the state of Oklahoma and the team of the Sooners, they got the biggest brand to a large demographic of football players.
In apparel, but
But you know what it is. When you're a 16, 17-year-old kid, you're not thinking about, like, the things you're thinking about are stuff as stilly as apparel. Unfortunately, that's just where you are. So branding-wise, Oklahoma, not the same as SC, but Oklahoma present day to present day SC, I do think they can compete in branding. What we're thinking about is potential. The potential for SC's brand, the brand of old SC. No, Oklahoma can't touch that.
No.
Can't touch that at all. But that's not where SC is right now. But to your point of Lincoln, and I got to get this off my chest because I got to be fair, what Lincoln does do best, which might potentially be the right move then, is Lincoln Riley does a phenomenal job of recruiting and retaining. And retaining may be just as important, if not more important, than recruiting. In this day and age of the transfer portal, you got to be able to retain your talent. Lincoln Riley, he retained Spencer Rattler, five-star quarterback, when Spencer Rattler got benched for Caleb Williams. Lincoln Riley, he retained Kyler Murray after Kyler Murray had to sit behind Baker Mayfield for a year. Now Lincoln takes over when Kyler's time to take over. Wait. Make sure you stay here, Kyler Murray. Lincoln Riley, he retains talent, but Lincoln Riley recruits talent. Recruits Spencer Rattler from the state of Arizona. Recruits Jalen Hurts when Jalen Hurts could have gone anywhere in the nation after leaving Alabama. Recruits Jalen Hurts. So Lincoln Riley does have that ability to recruit talent and retain talent. And if he can do both of those things incredibly well, then I do think USC is in good hands. And thus Lincoln can make going to USC the right move. But on the surface level, I'm not convinced.
Stop it. You finally reconcile with your deeper issues, which is you would have made the move, and
of course I would have.
And he should.
I told you why.
But and he should as well. But there's deeper reasons for him in terms of his why. You say that if you go to Oklahoma, as he did, born on third base, it's easier to stay good. Yeah, but Oklahoma's not staying where they are. They are not staying in the Big 12. They are leaving. So all of a sudden, this whole stay good is not going to stay the same. It's going to go to go to the SEC where it's more difficult. He knows that. And I'm not saying that he couldn't conquer the SEC. I'm just saying that's a damn tough, tall task versus, let me just slide over here to the Pac-12 and let's just see. Oh, is that the breeding ground? Is that where everyone wants to go outside of the Deep South in terms of getting their recruits? Absolutely, especially the most important position. You bring up Spencer Rattler. You know where Spencer Rattler is right now? He ain't staying. Where's Spencer Rattler right now, big dog? Transfer portal. Interesting. Where's Malachi Nelson from Los Alamitos out here in L.A.? Where is he? Decommitting along with 4 other recruits, because it's not about OU the brand that could stand up to SC the brand. It was about a coach who inherited something great from Bob Stoops and took it even farther, but at the same time is leaving to another brand that is greater. What do you think he could do in that situation? Acho, I'll just give it to you. If our show is in a bad time slot, we killing it, and then they say we give you a good time slot, you're going to say, nah, I don't want that. No one would say no to that opportunity, including Lincoln Riley. I'll give it to you like this. I live in L.A. I'm from L.A., so I really root for L.A. I'm not like you, from a different place, but come to L.A. and then tell people not to come to L.A., but you in L.A. That's what you're doing right now to my man, Lincoln Riley. The Kings of New York are in L.A. I see them all the time, especially one. Jay-Z, where does he live? Does he live in New York? King of New York, Brandon. Oh, it sounds amazing. New York, New York, New York. Except I live in L.A. I'm in New York via satellite. You know what? He lives in L.A. Puffy. Where's Puffy? King of New York. Where are all these NY Yankee hats, every video they got? Filmed in Los Angeles, living in Los Angeles. The point of it is, man, I hate to say it to other people because it sounds like I'm an elitist, which I am. Y'all don't compare to L.A. You keep saying it's weather. The reason they tax us so much because they know how good we got it out here. They try to level the playing field. But in this conversation, OU versus SC, no comparison.
But you got to ask yourself the why. And if you're Lincoln Riley, if you're a college football fan, put yourself in his shoes. You got to get to the deeper rooted why. I live in L.A. because my job. Speak for yourself in L.A. I live in L.A. because my other jobs, all entertainment-oriented, so many entertainers live in L.A. I have to be in L.A., or it behooves me to be in L.A. to do my job to the best of its abilities. Uncomfortable conversations. I ain't got to go find other people. They're in L.A. Lincoln Riley could have and was doing his job just as well from Oklahoma. If Lincoln wanted to be in L.A. because it's easier to recruit there, if he wanted to be in L.A. because he could get more recruits there, if he wanted to be in L.A. because the fame and the brand would attract higher level recruits, that's one thing.
Yeah.
But Lincoln Riley already recruited the #1 quarterback supposed to be drafted this coming year, Spencer Rattler, to Oklahoma. Lincoln Riley already recruited another 5-star quarterback in Caleb Williams to Oklahoma. Lincoln Riley already had a #9 ranked recruiting class on average. Lincoln Riley had everything at his disposal in Oklahoma. But let's talk about the SEC. Because so many people will say, man, but he going to the SEC.
Boy.
Keep in mind, the only teams that Oklahoma needs to be afraid of in the SEC, not Baylor, not West Virginia, not TCU, not even Texas. The only teams that a school like Oklahoma needs to be afraid of in the SEC are Bama and Georgia. I'm not afraid of Florida, that 5-win Florida or 6-win Florida that's just figuring out their head coach. I'm not afraid of LSU team that got to figure out their head coach. I'm not afraid of Vanderbilt. I'm not afraid of anybody but Bama and Georgia. The same Bama and Georgia that Lincoln Riley was meeting in the college football playoffs and losing to. So these are the same SEC teams that Lincoln, you were inevitably and eventually playing anyway. Oklahoma ain't got to be scared. I'll be scared. Texas fans going to the SEC, be scared. Sooners fans, I ain't got to be scared. It's 2 programs I'm worried about.
Yeah, you do need to be scared, but it's in the mirror. It's not outside the house, and that's the thing. And I think Lincoln Riley knows this, and that's why he made this move. Let's go down this, because you started off by talking about apparel and Jordan brand. And despite Oklahoma having a Jordan brand, they're still getting decommits. Despite them having the Jordan brand, nobody cares about the apparel. They care about the anatomy. They care about themselves. They care about their life. They care more about their day-to-day than just the X's and O's. It's about the I's and the U's. Let's talk about Lincoln Riley, who came to a smart, logical equation and came to that summation properly. If you walk into a living room of any top prospect, and you're in the Big 12 right now, who do you fear? You said Texas, basically, right?
Oklahoma.
Respect. And Oklahoma. If I'm Lincoln Riley and I'm in the Big 12 at Oklahoma, the only one I got a negative recruit against is Texas, right? Now you go to the SEC. Let's just fast forward to next year. And Lincoln Riley is walking into a recruit's living room, and he knows in the back of his mind, I got a negative recruit against who? Bama and Georgia. Now he's in the Pac-12. Let's be real. Who does he have to negative recruit against?
Say Oregon.
Hey, and you better not say Oregon. You know why? Because Oregon is happy where it is, and it's been there for a long time. But it's only been there in part because SC hasn't been where it's supposed to be. SC is still the big dog. What was it? The top 5 college quarterbacks this year, 4 of them came from where?
4 came from California.
California, Southern California. How about that? And now you're talking about the number 2 overall recruit at the quarterback position already saying I'm decommitting because I'm interested maybe in SC going down the street. He knows this equation. So now he's like, this is the easier road. I get to go to where they actually grow the vegetables. This isn't going to Boys Market or Ralph's Market. This is going to Farmer's Market, big dog. He's going to get the best opportunity to get them first. And that's why he's so excited about this opportunity as well as you should be.
What's interesting, Nocel, is I would fully hear you and agree with your train of thought, even if Lincoln was leaving a Texas that won 5 games this year, about 8 games a year ago, 7 games a year before, maybe 6 games or 10 games a year before. But Lincoln is leaving a program where he has not lost more than 2 games. I believe Lincoln Riley's record is like 50 and 10.
No, he's lost more than 2 games.
2 games, 12 and 2, 12 and 2, 12 and 2, 9 and 2.
You're running the wrong equation again. Lincoln said I lost 3 games that matter. 0-3 in college football playoffs. And you know why? Because I don't have the defense and I don't have the depth. You know what happens? You get to L.A., not only are you going to get the most important position at quarterback.
Which he's had.
Yes, which he's had. And he hasn't had the defenses and he hasn't had the depth. And I'm talking about top 3, 4, 5-star depth that you will get at SC. Just what Clay Helton was doing something out here.
Here's the problem,
Lincoln Riley?
Even if Lincoln Riley fulfills his potential at USC, is his potential still going to be able to beat an Alabama team coached by the greatest coach of all time, which, regardless of what depth you have, Lincoln, Bama's still probably going to have more. They're Bama. Is USC going to have been able to beat maybe the greatest college football team of this generation and LSU when they just caught lightning in a bottle? It doesn't matter how good a Lincoln Riley SC team was. They're going to have lost to that LSU team, like the Oklahoma team led by Lincoln Riley and Jalen Hurts lost to that LSU team. I don't know how you fathom that Lincoln Riley at SC is still going to be able to take on Nick Saban and Bama. Nobody can. And Ohio State has got great programs with Urban Meyer when he was there.
I love you.
Dabo Swinney has had great programs with Clemson. But on a consistent basis, Alabama's still Alabama. So I think we're asking too much if we think that Lincoln Riley at USC is now going to be able to dethrone Alabama.
Stop it, Acho. I love you. I remember from day one when I met you, and I met you when you weren't working in L.A., but you were still in L.A. So don't always marry yourself to, I'm here for my occupation. You was here in desire to get the occupation, right? Remember those days? Way back. Bama can never be overthrown, you say.
Consistently.
Okay, good. Because I was about to say, when we first started working this show, you told me Bama was done. And I was like, are you kidding? When you have a huge brand, you don't have to rebuild. All you got to do is just replenish. And sometimes it's a lot and sometimes it's little. But the brand is always the juice. It never turns off. Look at this. In real estate, what's the most important thing? People would say square footage. People would say master bedroom. What is it? It's
location.
3 words. Location, location, location. Good Lord. And I wonder, let's just say the high school location of Bama's quarterback right now, Bryce Young. Where's
He's from California.
Oh, okay. So you're telling me I'm going to a greater brand, I'm going to a better location, and I'm going as the number 3 all-time head coach in my first 5 seasons in terms of win percentage. You mean you take me, who's right here at the top, but can't get over that hump, 0-3 in college football playoff appearances. And then I go to a greater location and a greater brand. I don't know how this could fail. Being real, you can only give me the history of lesser coaches or different names that didn't take a full advantage of their opportunity, but they're not Lincoln Riley.
The question is, Lincoln Riley is a greater coach in narrative form because of what he did with a greater team. My point being, we've seen so many coaches and so many historically great programs fail. I led with this. Lane Kiffin, he a good coach.
Oh, yeah, I love Lane.
Top 10 ranking in God knows how long. But Lane Kiffin failed at SC. I'm not convinced that Steve Sarkisian is a bad coach. Now, Sark, we know he had his issues, but he's struggling at Texas, and at SC, he had to get up out of there. Clay Helton. So many people don't think Clay Helton was a great coach for whatever personal reasons, etc. Clay Helton was up out of there. Rich Rod. He made some noise at the U of A. Made some noise. May not have been a lot. Made some noise. Rich Rod at Michigan. We have seen great coaches. Tom Herman, when he was at the University of Houston, was winning 10 games, pulling upsets over top 25 teams. But then he goes to a big program with high expectations and doesn't do well. I just think that a program like USC, like other historically great programs that are presently struggling, they might be fool's gold. Now, can Lincoln turn it into gold and fool me? Maybe. But at the surface, we've seen great coaches fail, and if they haven't been considered great coaches, it's because they failed. But Lane Kiffin's a great coach, in my opinion. We just didn't think he was a great coach when he was at SC.
I remember those
Charlie
days.
Strong was a great coach until Charlie Strong got to Texas. Tom Herman was a great coach until Tom Herman got to Texas. So Lincoln Riley is a great coach. But are we going to be saying that Lincoln Riley is a great coach in 3 years? That is my fear, because I don't know if just being a great coach is enough to get USC where SC wants to go.
Well, it's already being elevated just because of the brand, because of the location. So it's actually a shorter distance for him to be great at SC than it is as he's been at Oklahoma. Oh, man, you take me to my childhood. I hated when people said that I couldn't do something because they didn't. I hated that projection, right? I can't because you didn't. All right, that's fine. We all got to have a precedence out there, I guess. People always want to look back historically to tell their future. I give you that. But in terms of receipts, like, since there are no receipts out there, that means I can't be the one to buy it. Like, I understand where you're coming from, but I don't. Because I know an Acho that under 30 years old was hosting the show. I remember the days when I was hosting a show 2 years removed from the football field, when they said I was going to be stuck just doing analyst work. I remember going to a school that they said there's no way you're going to make it to the NFL, and I did it. Acho, how do you spell can't? C-A-N. Stop there.